Welcome CSC103 class. I'm going to review the photo retouching exercise. This is the one using the cloning where we're going to take away the kids in the background of the beach shot. So I'm going to go to photo retouching, and there's two files to download. We did the one as a practice, but I'm going to download this one right now, and I'm going to right click and do save link as, and I'm going to save this file down somewhere where you can find it. And if you were on your regular hard drive, you would put it in your documents. I'm just going to put it in 103C1. I'm just going to stick it in notes for now, and I'll just save it in there. And there it is downloaded. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that up in Pixlr. So I'm going to go here, and I'm not going to double click on this yet. I'm just going to go to Pixlr, and I'm going to launch Pixlr.com, no E in there. And if you come to this screen, you want to scroll down and find the Pixlr editor, and there it is, not the Express. So I'm going to launch that, and I'm going to open image from computer because I just downloaded it. So I'm going to open image from computer, and I'm just going to go find the one that I just downloaded that was here in notes, and it was kids on a beach JPEG. And remember, the E in JPEG won't matter. Some software might have an issue with it, but it's really the same thing, so it should not be an issue. So we should be able to open up with the JPEG with the E in it. And there it is. And what we're going to do here is get rid of all these people from the background. And some people even got rid of the girl here, but we're going to get rid of the people from the background. And what we're going to do is use the CloneStamp tool. That's this one right here, the CloneStamp tool. And what it does is it samples areas that you want to paint. So if you wanted to get rid of her feet here, what you want to do is you want to sample an area over here and then start painting and paint that previous area over top of it. You want to kind of paint neighboring pixels over top of areas. And we're just going to do it right on the background. So what we do will be permanent. And I'm going to zoom in a little. And I'm just going to start on that part over there. And I'll just do a little bit. I don't have to do the whole thing. And you'll find once you start working, this will be pretty easy. And what I'm going to do I'll get rid of her feet first, and then get rid of this part with the wave. And then this part should be easier because it's just kind of foamy waves in the middle. It's harder when there's kind of a line here to get rid of. So that's what I'm going to start on first. And what I'm going to do is use my clone stamp. I'll select it, and you want to check the settings. The hardness should be at like 50% right now by default. You might want to put that up just a little bit, and then the size is at 50 now. That's that size right there. You could probably even go a little bit bigger than that. And one thing just to point out is I'll just click up here on the bar to get that window to go away. When you want to make this brush bigger or smaller, you can actually use your less than and greater than signs on your keyboard to do that. So if I do the greater than, it'll make my brush bigger, and if I use the less than, it'll make my brush smaller. So I want to kind of make it so it's kind of splitting that area, so it'll kind of cover up that whole area of her feet there. So I'll just go a little bit bigger. And what you want to do is on Mac, I'm actually going to hold Command, but on Windows, you want to Control click. So you want to Control click over here. So I'm going to click to set an area, and nothing will happen. You'll just see that little crosshair, and then I'm going to move over here. I'm going to move my mouse over. I'm not holding down, and then you're going to start painting, holding down on your mouse, and then start moving over. And you see what it's doing. It's actually painting over with your brush what's showing up in the target area that you originally control clicked on. And keep in mind though, even though it's only the size of the crosshair, the sample area is actually the same size as the brush, so it'll pick up what the brush is painting too. So it's not just that little area, it's exactly like the brush, if you could picture that. So I'm just going to keep painting through here, and you can see kind of what it did. And you can even go over here. I'll Control click over here or Command click on a Mac, and then I'll start painting this way, and I'll get rid of that little shadow and kind of go through there. Now you see it's kind of picking it up again, so you might have to restart and just kind of go in that area there and kind of paint. Now it came a little closer though. That little white is kind of down there, so you could keep going over it again. So I'll kind of go through it this way. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just ocean water. Nobody's going to be that particular. And even if it has a little sharper edge and softer edge, that looks pretty good. And this stuff is easy, so I can just Command click and kind of go in here and paint over this. This stuff is easy. Just make sure that it doesn't go through things already, because you can see it'll pick up little areas that you already did. So Control click or Command click, and then just you can click and just kind of click and paint, or you could paint through it. But the secret is to kind of go through from both directions on something like this, where you're kind of taking someone out of this area here. Even up here, if I wanted to go here, I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. And I'll start right here, and I'll control click, and then I'll move my brush away. Don't be right next to it. And I'll start painting here, and you can see what it's doing. It's kind of going through there. And now it's starting to pick up some of the previous stuff. You could even go way over here and click, and then start painting right here and start going through that from that direction there. As long as it's targeting that kind of stuff, it's good. Now this is a little more, and this is easy. This stuff's easy up here to kind of go through the ocean. I'll scroll up. That's easy to kind of just make sure that you're kind of doing almost the bird. It's more purplish up here, so make sure you do that first, and just watch what it's going through. You could even get areas over here and come back and go through it. And then I'll do this little kind of greenish area here, and I'll go through there. I'll even get rid of that woman's head while I'm at it, and even her shadow a little bit, so she's kind of gone. And then you could even get rid of this guy, start getting rid of him. Just make sure. Now you see it's a little lighter there. You want to look at the tones that you're kind of going over when you do that. So I'll go in here and start getting rid of her, and I'll control click up here again, start going through there. So it's kind of using that darker area, because that's kind of that darker area up there. And notice that it stayed down there because I have it aligned unchecked. And we didn't talk about this in class, but if you click align, then it'll always stay in line of where you're going. And maybe I should leave that on for now. Photoshop does that by default. It leaves it undefined or aligned until you uncheck it. So I'm just going to make my brush a little bigger here and kind of do this part. And I kind of messed that up. So I want to get away from it a little bit and go through this. And then maybe come from this direction and come in a little bit and come out from this direction. Now it's a little challenging because I have the edge of the waves, and now I don't want to have repeating areas, so I'm going to make my brush a little smaller, and maybe I'll kind of control click over here and pick a little of that wave, and then I'll go over here and maybe control click and pick a little of that wave. And you don't want areas that look exactly repeating. That actually doesn't look too bad. If you zoom out on that, if I zoom out here, you're not going to notice that too much. Let me zoom out. You're not going to notice that that's the same thing as that. So that looks pretty good. I don't know if, other than the shadow here, you could try to get rid of that. And that kind of reflection in here, you could kind of go here and kind of bring that in a little bit. Obviously, you wouldn't want to make it noticeable. It's actually, you might not even notice it if you just left it alone. But I'll make my brush a little bit bigger. And then I'll kind of go through and kind of do that again. Just get rid of it a little bit. And see, on aligned, it's always following the same. And I'll kind of go back this way too and kind of get those little lines that are in the water there. And get rid of that little shadow. So that doesn't look too bad. Again, for this stuff here, make your brush a little smaller, and I'll command click and I'll go through here. Just you want to get that line, and then get further away. I want to click over here and then don't start till I get to right here. I want to get kind of follow that line. You could even follow the line out here. Control click here, go through here a little bit, and then this stuff is pretty easy to go through here. The head's pretty easy to go through. A lot of this stuff won't be too hard because getting rid of stuff in the water is fairly easy. I'll go through there a little bit. And I have that to kind of clean up a little bit. And again, what you don't want to do is see those little repeating areas there. You want to avoid those because they look kind of fake. So whenever you get areas that look kind of, where you see the same kind of thing repeated, that'll look more fake. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more. And you can see that looks pretty good, what I did. And I would finish that off. So that's all I'm going to do for this. I don't have to do any more. But that's kind of the idea, is to be as smooth as possible when you do that. And make sure, in your ocean water, use a nice big soft brush. And that's kind of what I was doing. So some of this here, I might kind of lighten that up if I wanted to fix this up. Now that I'm zoomed back, I could kind of click over here and maybe kind of lighten up those areas and get rid of that shadow there completely or the reflection, I should say, that was kind of in the sand there. So you wouldn't even know someone was there. And that's kind of the magic of what we can do with Pixlr and with Photoshop. That's kind of where this comes from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this right now. Now, we did this all on one layer, so that's fine. It's all on the background, so it's all permanent. So we're just going to save it. So we're going to go File, and we're going to go Save, and we'll just save it as a JPEG. And I think I asked you to kind of put the exercise number in front of it. So I could do 5- Kids on Beach, and then in here I'll just do dash, and I'll put my last name, first initial. You don't have to put the extension because it's going to save as a JPEG when you do it. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'll save it back in the same place. It's a different file name than my original one that I had here, Kids on Beach. So I'm just going to save that. And I'm on a Mac right now, so it's putting the .jpeg there because I like having that. And now it's saved. Now I don't have to save this. I could close up this window and just hit no because I already saved a JPEG and it's a flattened image. And then what you would do is you would go back to My Warren, and then you would upload a file and go through this whole process. And I'll go through the process. You upload a file. You choose File, you upload it again, then you go find it. That's the one I want. Then I hit Open. Now I would hit Insert because it's actually selected right now, so I'll hit Insert. And then I have to hit Add again. You don't have to put any label, any description, just hit Add. And then the last thing you have to do is turn in by hitting this little link here. And that's it. So there's what I just did. If I clicked on it, there's my finished version. Now obviously I didn't finish it, but for the sake of keeping the video a little bit shorter, I didn't finish it up. But I'd want to finish up that stuff. Obviously when you do it, you should finish that up, get rid of everybody in the background. But that's kind of my finished product. So that's my 5th exercise with the photo retouching using Pixlr for Intro to Computing.